You ready?
All right, what's up, everybody? We are officially live. I've got a very, very special guest here today on the second episode of the Be a Pro series. As you know, what I promised in my kickoff live on Tuesday was that I was going to bring on super high performers, people that have known great success, people that have been through the struggles, the ups and downs, people that can provide massive value, people that can really give you some tools and tips to impact your life, help you move the needle. And I've got one of those guys today. My guest today is, like I said, a super high performer. He was an All-American defensive end at the University of Minnesota, the draft pick of the Chicago Bears, spent 5 years in the NFL. We were teammates for 3 of those years with the Falcons and 1 year with the Redskins. He's been a best friend of mine for over 15 years now. When he retired from the NFL, he immediately transitioned into his next big dream, started climbing his next mountain, which is in the acting world. And he's known nothing but success since he started that. My guest today is Karon Joseph Riley. Karon, how are you, brother?
What's up, Jimbo? How you doing, brother?
Good, man. You're looking good over there. I like the little office setup.
This is actually Terry's
Okay.
office. You know me, I don't operate in really formal environments like this.
Yeah.
My room is a little bit more chaotic.
Yeah, that's what's great about having a wife, right? They say behind every great man is a great woman, you know. So you gotta have the wifey to make sure she's got things in check when you don't.
Absolutely, bro. It's a great balance, and you definitely need to find that as a man or a woman. You just find somebody that's a really good teammate. She's probably been one of my best teammates ever. So.
Man, you know what's crazy is that's one of the things I talk about a lot is that, you know, I always say it in the terms of that no one succeeds alone, right? That success is a collective effort, collaboration is best. And I think that's definitely true.
Yeah, you know, it's that old parable where it says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go long, go together. So
that's right.
You know, all the journeys we've been on, you know, football, and now, you know, our second acts, with me being an actor, producer, writer, director, and all that entertainment stuff. And now you doing what you're doing with the speaking and the motivating and all of the things that you're doing. It's a marathon, bro. It's nothing short of a marathon. And if you go into any of these endeavors thinking it's going to happen overnight, then you are doing yourself a disservice. And you're also setting yourself up for a lot of bad, bad feelings when it doesn't happen right away. Because nothing that has a high level of success happens overnight. But one night success happens. Our old pastor used to say that.
That's right. That's right. That's where I got that from. It's all of that work that you put in behind the scenes. Like, you know, to quote another guy, Tony Robbins always says, you get rewarded in public for what you do in private, right? It's like all those hours when we were playing football. The fans saw us on Sunday, but it was all of those hours, man, of getting up at 6 a.m. to go get the workout in, and then, you know, spending that time in the cold tub and getting the massage, and then going back and getting a second workout in, and doing all of those extra things in private that nobody saw until we got on the field on Sunday, and they were like, oh man, you know, great job. You know, you guys are really just living the life. It's got to be fun. And we're like, yeah, it's fun. But we put in 80, 90 hours a week behind the scenes to make this happen.
Oh yeah, that's the one thing people never really quite understood about playing at that level. It was like every day, even when we weren't in season, especially guys like you and you and myself, we were never at that top of the food chain where we could take a lot of days off. So even for us, I mean, I think the longest time we took off was 2 weeks in off season, and we thought we were going crazy. Remember?
Right.
But we were almost immediately back in that weight room every off season, just hammering away. And you know, I'm thankful for it because it's created a work ethic in me that has carried on even into my acting world. People always ask me, like, man, it seems like you just win at everything. It's like, yeah, nah, you know, you said it's been nothing but success. It's been some roller coasters. Even now, it's just I always rest in the work. I know that I'm working my butt off. So even if something doesn't go right one time, I also understand that I can go back to the drawing board and tweak some things and work a little harder in that direction. So instead of the failure causing me to stop and change course, it just allows me to readjust that course and just keep pedaling forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's one of the things that I've always admired about you is even in the down times, you just kept the same blueprint. You kept applying the same principles that you applied when we were operating at the highest level. You were like, okay, well, I'm doing something different. It's a new field. I'm climbing a new mountain, as I like to say, but I'm not going to deviate from the things that I did over here to experience that high level of success. I'm going to take all of those things, totally different field, totally different, way of life, different mindset, everything. But I'm just going to apply those things to what I'm doing now and keep pushing, keep moving forward. I think that's big.
Yeah, like you said, man, it was a whole new mountain. I mean, I had climbed Mount Kilimanjaro with the NFL. That was, we were at the top, as far as we can get to the top, and oxygen was thin. We had bust our butt to get there. We had a lot of casualties on the way up the mountain with a lot of friends and teammates that didn't quite make it that far. But once I actually got the helicopter ride down from that mountain, I went back to base camp for another mountain, and the same ropes, the same gizmos, and the same oxygen tanks that I used on that last mountain. Let's reload those, add a few to that, and let's keep on going, and that was pretty much the thing. And I always, my brother told me one thing a long time ago, like even when I was actually still playing, he's like, man, once you crack the 1%, it's muscle memory. Because if you actually had to put in about 10,000 hours, if not or more, into doing what you did before, so you understand what it takes to get to another level of high expertise of anything, which is it's the hours, Jim. I tell my son all the time, you can't escape the hours. 10,000 hours, that's the base. If you think you're going to be anything successful,
that's the minimum. That's the prerequisite. Like you got to get there before you can operate on that level. Once you get there, shit, it's another how many thousand hours to stay there and take it even higher, right? Absolutely.
But again, that's the difference between me and 85-90% of the world, is that I'm willing to get that first 10,000 under my belt without really much fanfare at all.
In silence, like again, in private, in silence.
You sharpen your sword in silence. It's, one of those, I'm a big quote guy. I derive so much inspiration, so much insight from quotes. So it's like you sharpen your sword silently. So when it's time for war, you're ready. So for me, it was like, I took on a new career that potentially might not work. I might not have the it. I might not have the talent. I might not have exactly what it takes to crack into that next level where I can actually take care of my family and sustain myself. But I wouldn't know that for at least 10 years in. So it was a huge leap of faith and a huge decision that I had to make, because I had a family. I wasn't single. I just started a family as I was transitioning into a whole new career, which was hard as hell. But I knew what the end goal was, and I kept my eyes on that while I was still taking care of this here, taking care of this here. I kept one eye going there, like, okay, I got to stay going this way, but I know I got to stop here for a minute. And I just never lost sight of what the overall plan was. And again, it was a 10-year thing before I could even realize that the plan was working right. I just figured it out within 12 years of acting now that I'm an actor. and I work as an actor, and I first time in my life, I made 6 figures last year as an actor. So, I'm back. I'm back to where I was at the bottom. I'm still haven't got to the top of Mount Everest here, but I'm midway up, and I got, my oxygen tanks looking good. All my lines are feeling strong, and I'm feeling strong, which is important. So that's all I need.
Man, there's so many things to unpack there with what you just said. Couple things. Again, one of the things that I think you've always done really, really well is this idea of there's no plan B, right? So even when you were talking about jumping into acting, that was a big dream. That was a goal. That was something you said you wanted to do. And there was some uncertainty there. And this is the important part, because, and I especially think right now it's important because there's a lot of people in the world that are facing a lot of uncertainty with their career, with COVID wiped out their job. And people are like, man, I don't know what the next 3 months of my life looks like. I want to make a transition. I want to do something new. Maybe now is the time. I want to go after that big dream. You just said when you jumped out, there's a lot of uncertainty. You don't know if it's going to work out, but you always had that mindset that you were unwilling to consider another outcome. You've always said, no, this is going to happen, and I'm not going to consider any other outcome until it's just, cut and dried. All right, it's not going to work. Then I'll think about something else, right? That idea that it's plan A or nothing. I'm not going to give 80% of my energy to this and dabble 20% over here just in case it doesn't work out. Like I talk about this in the Be a Pro seminar. This is that obsession piece. You go all in, you play big. There's no other outcome that I'm willing to consider. Singular focus on what it is that I said my goal was, and you go for it. And that's the difference between high performers, high achievers, and everybody else, quite frankly. The people that don't make it, the people that, we consider just, average, mediocre performers. That's the difference. Talk about that.
Yeah, like you just said, I mean, it goes back to intentional direction, man. Like, I've always been very intentional in everything I did. If I have a friend, I'm gonna be the best friend I can be to that person. If I picked up cycling 10, 11 years ago, and I got a coach, I got books, I started studying the sport, I watched the Tour de France, I watch a bunch of, I get completely obsessed in everything that I find myself wanting to be. Well, anything I'm gonna spend my life energy with, which is time, that we don't ever get back. If I'm going to do it, then I'm going to do it to be the best. Period. I always say, this quote was something I come up with, is like, children have hobbies and grown men have purpose. You know what I'm saying? My purpose in my career is what I do. You know what I'm saying? There is no half cop mentality. I mean, playing in the NFL, there was no half step in there. You step on that field and you weren't 100% committed, you can get hurt, or
they get you out of there.
The back of the helmet said you risk injury or death playing this game.
That's right.
I mean, my whole life I've been on the rails of, hey, it's either all or nothing. I mean, what are we doing? Like, what are we here for? We're not gonna do it the best. Remember, we used to always say the NBA stuff, the basketball. I was like, NBA. It's just my personality, and I'm thankful for it, because it has gotten me to who where I am now.
Oh, listen. I want to interrupt you quickly, because I want to make sure everybody that's tuned in gets this point. So that little NBA thing we're talking about, Karon was an amazing high school basketball player, All-American high school basketball, had opportunities to go to college on a full basketball scholarship and chose football. While we were playing in the NFL, Karon would always say things, we would joke around about it, but you were dead serious. Karon would always say, man, if I decided that I wanted to go to the NBA, if I decided that I was going to take a college scholarship, I'd be in the NBA right now. And at times, we would banter over that. We would kind of go back and forth, and I'd always, say, come on, man, that's a different skill set, and, you can't just say that. But as I've told you in years past, when, I got older, got a little bit more mature, when I used to try to push back on that idea, when you would say things like that, I've come to understand, like, you were right, bro. You were the one that was right about that, in the sense that your mindset that says, whatever I'm doing, I'm going to the top. Whatever it is that I invest my time in, I'm going 1,000%. I'm leaving no stone unturned, and it's going to be whatever I want it to be. I'm going to bend the universe to my will, basically, right? And that's such a powerful concept, because so many people feel at effect of the world or circumstances or kind of their situation in life, when the truth is that if you decide you want to do something, then you can make that happen if you apply the right science to make that happen. And you've always known that. You've always been right about that.
And that's coming from a Black man in America. Like, for me,
add another burden you got to carry around in order to make something like that happen.
Yeah, and you and I used to talk about this early in our friendship, because I was one of those friends that I would always call you on times when I was like, yo, Jimbo, hey, You're cool with black folks. You got the culture. You're real down. But let's be clear, it's a big ass difference between the two of us in this world. Trust me when I tell you that. Now, granted, coming from me and the personality and what we were sitting in the same rooms, we talked to the same people. So yes, I had maybe not experienced or been as oppressed as a lot of my brethren in this country because of my mindset. You know, it's all a mindset. Yes, there are things in this country that have been systematically against us since day one, and they still is. But for me, again, I've always been taught from my mother and my father, and just my existence has been like, look, yes, it's going to be harder for you because of X, Y, and Z, but that doesn't mean that A, B, and C just can't happen. It's just going to be a lot harder, but you're equipped with everything you need to do it because of who you are, period. Like, my mother had instilled such love and confidence in myself that I had so much love and confidence in myself that it was a matter of a decision for me. Like, I tell people the story all the time. It's like, yo, I made my first major business decision at 17 on which way was I going to go. Was I going to go basketball or football? It was a legitimate question. Like, people ask me, like, how did you know you was going to the NFL? I knew I could go to the NFL more certain than I knew the NBA because I understood the skill level and the skill set that it took to get to the NBA. But I still have no doubt that I could have played pro basketball if I dedicated all the hours that I dedicated to do football as I would have did in basketball. No doubt in my mind. It's clear as day. But
what you're talking about, Kay, again, which is one of the things I've always admired about you, and I've leaned on you in the past. I mean, you remember a couple years after we retired and I was going through it and I was having my ups and downs. You have always been able to maintain an unbelievable level of self-belief. Didn't matter what anybody else thought. Didn't matter. And we used to talk about that when we were playing football. You know, you always had that mentality. You were like, man, I don't care what these coaches or what these people think about me. Like, I know what I can do. And, you know, at the time, again, I had a little bit different take I get that, but you know, if you could do X, Y, and Z,
Jimbo, you back? We lost you, Jimbo. You there? We're looking like Karon Riley and them on the damn challenge right now. I think it's on your end.
You got me?
I see you, but you frozen right now. Then it jumped off and made me the host for a second, so it must be.
Yep, I got you. We're back. So talk about that self-belief, man, like where that comes from, so that people that are struggling with that, like, you know, let's talk about how you can uncover that, how you can, you know, walk in that.
I give this. I tell this to, you know, young men I talk to from time to time, and I say, this is how you start to manifest your life. And you start with little stuff. Like, I write all my stuff on my bathroom mirror in dry erase marker for goals for the year, goals for the week, goals for the month. And some goals are a year, 2-year plan. You see those goals at the bottom of the mirror. Those may get picked up this year, next year, or whenever. They're coming. But then I might have a goal up here at the top. Get a haircut. You know what I'm saying? Call and make an appointment.
Right.
I write that down. Then I go do that. And now you start actively practicing manifesting, even on the small. You can't make a damn elephant disappear till you figure out how to make the coin disappear. So
that's it.
So you start to do little things daily that you can just manifest, even if it's something that's hard for you. Oh my God, and this is how you know it's something you want to do, because you feel you want to do it, but it's always something if there's a voice that makes you decide you're not going to do it that day. I want to start journaling. I want to start knitting. I want to start running a mile a day. But it's funny, something always gets in the way of the things that scare you the most, which are usually the things that you're supposed to be doing.
So you just need to be doing.
I always say, write it down. That's the first manifestation. When it comes out of your mind, your spirit, and you write it, it becomes real immediately. That's the baby. It's on the mirror. The baby's on the mirror. Now you have a choice to either feed that baby, love that baby, take care of that baby, or that baby gonna stay right there and it's gonna eventually die. So for me, I write everything on the mirror. I birth babies all over the goddamn place. I got stuff written up all over my house. I got a writing room. I got stuff on the wall. It's what I do. I put everything up and I just go around. I nurture the babies. I love the babies. I feed the babies. Next thing you know, that baby's a grown man, and I'm sitting on the Oscar stage, or I'm in the NFL, or my book is coming out this year, or my clothing line is coming this year. All these things have been things that I wrote down first. And it started with just something very small, Jimbo. Like, I wrote down this meeting today for us to get this done. So
I was going to say it's small successes, right? I mean, you talk about, okay, I'm struggling with self-belief, self-confidence. How can I start to build that? Small incremental steps, small successes. Like you use the elephant example. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. You don't have to look at that thing and say, man, I don't think I could eat a whole elephant. Dig in. Martin Luther King talked about, you don't have to see the whole staircase, just take that first step, right? So writing it down, like you said, whether it's a journal, a note card, on your mirror, take a small step. If you want, I always talk about it in the context of, health and fitness. Saying I want to lose 50 pounds, people might say, man, I don't think I can do that. No, but you could lose 1 pound a week for 50 weeks. And a year from now, you're going to get on the scale and say, damn, I lost 50 pounds, right? It's these small incremental steps. And that's what high performers, that is how they attack everything. I remember, coaches always used to say, start of every season, well, the goal is to go, 16-0, win 3 playoff games and win the Super Bowl. How do you go 16-0? You go 1-0. You gotta win each successive game, right? And so again, that's something that you've always understood. And I want to kind of bring it around to kind of a slogan that you've developed, a little a hashtag that you go on social media, and you guys that follow Karon on social media, Karon Joseph Riley, you've probably seen this little hashtag, keep pedaling. And I think it's so important, man, because it's a hashtag, it's a motto, but it's become kind of a way of life for you. You already, you told us about how you became really, I'll say, obsessed with cycling. I mean, that's been something that really changed your life. I mean, I think it's exercise for you, it's therapy for you. It's where some of your greatest ideas come from when you're out on that bike. But talk about this concept, because I think it weaves in so well with this of keep pedaling, because that's what we're talking about. Just, one pedal at a time gets you down the road. Tell me about keep pedaling. What does that mean? And how can we apply that?
Yeah, man, that's great question. For me, keep pedaling, it started for me on the bike, the whole idea of it. But then I started realizing that it's really who I am. I would jump off on the bike and I would leave from my house and I would just go, right? And I would have a goal. I'm gonna say I'm gonna get 50 miles in, I'm gonna go 40 miles in. There'd be times in that 50 miles, bro, I'm like, man, I might have bit off more than I could chew.
Right.
It's, I'm cramping up a little bit, or this was maybe too much mileage too fast, and I learned very quickly in riding the bike, and I was out there on the road a lot of times, and I started having those same difficulties that happen, just like in life, man. Like, there's gonna be times when you jump off into something, and like, I'm sure when you started to be a pro a year or two ago, like you started, there were times when you're like, man, I don't know if this is gonna work for real. Oh man, is this gonna work too? Like, oh my God. But then you had to say, you know what? This was birthed in me. I'm gonna believe in that, and I'm gonna just put my head down and I'm going to just keep pedaling. I'm going to keep moving forward. There's going to be days you're going to go way faster than the other day. Like today, I rode today and I sucked. I felt terrible. I didn't feel my strength. I didn't feel my power, but I kept pedaling. And it's such an acronym for me now. It's become basically my mantra, my life's mantra. When my goal for when I leave here, or as I grow in my career, my life continues to go, you know how you see Nike just do it. You see LeBron, you think King James, you see I want it to be synonymous with who Karon Joseph Riley is. Yeah. You know, he's a guy that's going to, yes, he has huge dreams, he has huge goals, and some of them they're gonna be a long time to get to him. But what I do know he's gonna keep pedaling, he's gonna keep moving forward. And that's really the mentality in everything that we all have that we want to do in our lives, you know. Yep. I guarantee you your biggest dream that you have been sent to, I always call dreams blueprints. They're the blueprints that the universe has sent to you. They're nobody else's business but yours and yours only. But along the way, there's gonna come times where in your blueprint and building your dream, you're gonna be short some nails. Yep. And I've taken it a step further to make those nails people. You know, you need a community of people to help you accomplish your dreams, and building a house or building your dream palace. You're not gonna be able to do it alone. You could. It's just gonna take a whole lot longer. But if you subcontract out certain things and you get the right nails, the right people in your life, you know, that's why it's important to keep great friends in your corner, because there's times when, hey man, I might not have the energy. So I called Jimmy. Hey Jimbo, feeling down, bro. What you feeling like? And you tap in, you say, yo, here's some nails for you. And I go back to banging away. So I'm back, back pedaling. So for me, Jimbo,
we've done that for each other.
Yeah. And that's what it's supposed to. Iron sharpens iron. If you got people in your life that's not a circular relationship for you, then get them out of your life, because that means they're either taken away from you or you're taken away from them. And either way, that just doesn't add up to too much anything good. So the keep pedaling mantra for me, Jimbo, is just basically a way of life, bro. It started on a bike, but it's way bigger than a bike,
Well, and honestly, man, given again the state of the world right now, how important is that mindset? How applicable is that today? Like, again, people are waking up, with the possibility that we're going to have to go into another shutdown. Everything's going to get shut down again. People are going to be out of work again. And people are sitting there looking like, man, I don't even know how I'm going to hold it together. When you wake up in the morning, if you can say to yourself, just keep pedaling, right? Just keep moving forward. And ultimately, sometimes you don't even have to know what the end point is, what the destination is. You just keep moving and let those steps take you in certain directions, and a door will open for you that you could have never even, really visualized would open for you. Things happen, people come into your life. You talked about this journey for me with Be a Pro. It wasn't until I met a guy named Isaac Stegman that it really came to life. Just kind of by chance, we got connected by a mutual friend, and we ended up, I ended up joining a mastermind of his in Utah, and now we are where we are today. Isaac led me to my team now, an amazing woman, an amazing company, Amber Vilhauer with No Guts, No Glory Enterprises, and her amazing team. It takes a village, man. No one succeeds alone. And, again, that's why our friendship has always been so special, because at those times when you were down, I had something to say. When I was down and I need to lean on you, you always picked me up. And I think that's really key. I want to remind everybody who's tuned in right now, drop some comments, drop some questions in the chat. I've got my team. I've got Casey in the chat box right now that'll forward some of those questions over to me. I've got my phone right here where I can read some of that. I want to keep you on for just a little bit longer, Karon, because I think this is so valuable, man. One of the things I've kind of used to refer to Be a Pro as an ideology of excellence. And you're somebody, again, who to me epitomizes excellence in a lot of different areas, man. I mean, you were at the top level in football. Little known fact about you, a lot of people probably don't know, you ran some restaurants back in the day, and you were excellent at that. totally different field, but took yourself as high as you could be. You were the best that you could be at that through curiosity and study and practice and all those things. Everything you've done, you have done it with a high degree of excellence. What does excellence mean to you? What does that take? What is when you hear people say like, I want to be excellent? What does that mean, and how can people get there? What does that take to be excellent? What's the secret?
Well, the secret for me, Jimbo, is again, I allude to my mother. She taught me that no matter how big or small the task that you're involved in, you have the responsibility to leave it better than what you found it as, and B, give it everything you've been blessed with to give it. Like you can't, like me being a manager, getting to the point where I was a GM running, $1 million restaurants and doing really well, helping people. It was one of those things that I had to give for people. And I was like, I know my end goal is to be an actor. In the meantime, I have to work. I have to supply my family with food and shelter. So in the midst of doing this job, I am going to be the best version of myself I can be in this. I'm going to take everything I learned from the NFL, everything that I'm doing now as an actor, as I'm building this career, and I'm going to put that into my management. I'm going to put that into my craft as a businessman. In that aspect, it was a lot of days I was the first person in that restaurant, 5 a.m., painting the walls, because I knew as a GM, if I could save my owner that money, that money can go back into the restaurant, can help the overall big picture of the whole team, the whole organization. So that's who I was. That's who I am. And for me, it was just excellence for me, Jimmy, is just, man, it's that voice that you have in all of us. We all have this voice, man. We all have the voice of doubt. We all have the voice of fear. We all have the voice of, I think I'm gonna chill today. I've just gotten really good at knowing when to shut that shit off. Like I know when to turn that off, and I know when it's not even necessary to even let it be acknowledged. And I also know when to listen to that voice.
I talk about that in terms of, like from a self-discipline standpoint, not negotiating with yourself, right? Excellence requires you to stop negotiating with yourself that says, I could do it this way, and it might be a little more painful, or I could half-ass it and do it this way and, still get through it. Those are those negotiations that we get into. If we said we're going to do something and we're committed to doing it, then there's no negotiation, right? And that, to me, that's a key piece of being excellent, because you can always half-ass something. You can get the job done, or you can do it with a high degree of excellence. But in order to do that, you have to consistently choose that you're going to do it with that high degree of excellence, and not allow yourself to make trade-offs or make deals and negotiate with yourself about, well, I'll go half-ass it, I'll go 50% today.
And here's the deal. I tell my son all the time, you can lie to your mom, you can lie to me, you can lie to a girl, you can lie to your friends. Don't ever lie to yourself. Mm-hmm. The moment you start lying to yourself is when you find yourself up shit's creek without a paddle. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
The only way you end up with up the creek without a paddle is because you lied to yourself and said you had them in the boat. You know what I'm saying? If you'd have been honest with yourself and said, let me make sure I got a paddle, you'd have been fine. So I tell my son all the time, it's like, look, son, if you want to go to the NBA, that is your possibility that you can happen. But again, I had him break down 10,000 hours. How many hours a day do you need to practice basketball to the time you're 21 to have 10,000 hours under your belt to give yourself a chance to get to the NBA? 3 hours a day. So now he's at that point where he's doing 3 hours a day minimum. So I say, okay, now you're on path. You're on the right path. But he stopped lying to himself, because for a while he would get into these practices and he hadn't put the 3 hours in. He was, sometimes it would go well, but most times it wouldn't. So he'd be crying. And I'm like, what you crying for? Oh, I didn't do well. I said, well, you lie because you're lying to yourself. You know, if you put the work in, you know if you put enough work in. So it comes down to really just not lying to yourself, like you said, non-negotiable, not non-negotiating with yourself.
Yeah.
You know what has to be done, get it done. And here's the last thing I will say about that is you have to be willing to be excellent when nobody's watching, nobody's giving you the credit. there may or may not ever be any credit for it. You know what I'm saying?
Put that in the chat box, because that is key, man. Excellence when nobody's looking. Excellence when nobody else is holding you to that standard. The only person that's holding you to the standard is yourself. That's huge.
You gotta be your accountability coach. You gotta be your coach. You have to be able to, you have to self-sustain yourself to a certain level if you're going to get to a certain level, because you get to a point, you got great friends in your life, you got a great family, and all that is beautiful, and it's great if you have it. But there's so many successful people in the world who didn't have that.
Right.
So what's the excuse? The excuse is those people did not negotiate with themselves. They did not listen to the voice. They did not lie to themselves, you know? So that's what it really comes down to, bro. It comes down to just being accountable, man. I mean, that's the end of the day. It's like, I talk so much shit about my future because I heard me say, I'm just putting stuff into the universe so I can grab it. And that's been my philosophy, man. I'm gonna tell as many people what I'm going to do. So the days when I am tired and can't pat myself on the back to go, I say, man, you told all them people you was gonna be the greatest. So now you gotta be the greatest.
Exactly. Yep. So Melissa on Facebook asked, how do you keep yourself disciplined, right? She's asking, how do you build that self-discipline? How do you maintain it? And Melissa, so it's just what we said. I mean, it's self-discipline to me is really, really simple. I said it before. If you say you're going to do something, you do it, no negotiation. Don't let yourself get into a mindset where you'll make trade-offs. I talk to people all day long who will say, well, I was going to get up and get my workout in today, and I got to bed late, and so I just slept through my alarm, and so I'm just going to work out 2 hours tomorrow to make up for the hour I missed today and the hour I was going to do tomorrow. See, that's a negotiation, right? That's a trade-off. The way that you keep yourself disciplined, the way you can build self-discipline and stay disciplined, is to absolutely cut off any negotiations. Just, you can identify things in your life that are not non-negotiables, right? Whatever those things are, standards that you hold yourself to, where you're like, doesn't matter what situation I ever got in, I would never do this, and it's a non-negotiable. You got to raise your standards around your self-discipline to the point where if you said you were going to do it, then you do it, no negotiation. So that's I hope that helps, Melissa. That's really all it is. There's no.
Yeah, and I'll piggyback on that, Melissa. And it's just what Jimmy said. And for me, like I'll say this for you and for anybody else who's trying to actually develop that discipline muscle, because it's all muscle memory. It's all muscle working. Fortunately, Jimmy and I have been doing this exercise since we were 8, 9 years old. But if you're 30, you're 20, whatever, you haven't really had to practice it, start again. Like I said, small stuff. Stuff. Start the day saying you've been trying to get over to see your mother or something, but your schedule's so hectic. You right there, I'm going to see my mother today, and you go do that. And you start to do little things like that against the universal, what you think is the universal flow, and what you'll find is that the universe will finally start to move with you in your favor.
That's it.
And I always say this, Melissa, if you haven't read the book, The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho, get that book.
I was going to ask you about that, Kate. I've got that written down as one of my questions. What's your favorite book? Because I knew you were going to say that. I
read it once a year, bro. I read it once a year just to reiterate to myself to understand that this is all up to us, bro. There's times when you can find yourself in a standstill of life, and it could all be really good for you.
In that crystal shop.
Yep. And I tell people all the time, the NFL was my crystal shop. It was something, football and sports was a crystal shop for me. I was good at it. I thrived in it, but that wasn't my personal destiny. That wasn't my overall goal. That was just not who I was as an overall person. When I finally got on my personal destiny, which is what I'm doing now, the universe conspired for me. The universe believed in it. It started my career I started my career like Burn. The first 5 auditions I went out for, I booked 3 of them, bro. That's unheard of. You know what I'm saying? So it's all confirmation for me. But Melissa, start small and build from there. It's something as simple as every night you're going to stretch.
Yep.
You know, if something as simple as that, I'm gonna stretch every night. And you do that for a month. And next thing you know, that's a new habit.
The new habit.
Good habit.
Then it's not even discipline from that point. After that, it's not even discipline. It's now just ingrained in you. It's just a habit. You do it.
It's a new habit. People don't understand. It takes you 10 to 15 days to form a new habit of consistent doing the same thing every day. Yeah. So for me, even now, like I tell like people always say, man, you look great, you're in great shape. I stay at about 2 weeks out.
Right. 14 days, baby. I always
say, I tell casting directors, I tell producers, they're like, man, are you good? If we got to do a shirt off scene, are you in great shape like that? I'm like, I'm in great shape, but I'm not that great shape yet because there's a different level of commitment that you need to be at in there. So I'm like, give me 14 days and I will be there.
So let me talk about this for a minute, man, because this is a key point for me. A lot of people talk about peak performance, right? There's books out there. There's, people talk all the time about you want to operate at your peak. Listen, the goal is not to be at your peak because by nature, a peak is the summit. It's the top. You go up, it's the summit, and then there's an inevitable drop off, right? So we don't want to be peak performers. We want to be high performers who are consistently like this with the ability when we need to, boop, I can go there if I need to. It's that old concept of you stay ready, what? You ain't got to
get ready.
Ain't got to get ready, right? And so that's the key, man, to keep yourself at a level that you can sustain. I always talked about it in the context of like a car. You can't redline a car. If you you're going to drive 200 miles, you can't redline the car the whole way. You driving across the country, you can't redline that. There's going to be times when you got to step on the gas and, get around somebody and do something where, boom, you can go to that. But the goal is, that's why I talk about high performance. That's what Be a Pro is about. Being your best self, being a high performer so that when you need to step up and go here, when you need to be LeBron and drop 51, in the finals, you need to be Jordan and drop 60. You can do that. We're not going to get 60 every night, but we stay right here so we can go there. I got a quick question here from my man, Atu Molden. Listen, man, Atu, my brother, I know you tuned in right now. Atu Molden he's a great friend, one of the best college football receivers, and he had an amazing career in arena football with the Chicago Rush and a number of other teams.
I was about to say, man, that name sounds so familiar. I played against Atu when he was in Philadelphia arena time. Yeah, he's a great guy. Absolutely.
You remember Atu. So Atu is one of those guys, man, Atu is just a dog. Like, he's just one of those guys. He has a great question, though, that I want you to talk about a little bit, Kay. He says, talking about dealing with failures despite your efforts along the way to your goal. So he's saying you set a goal and you got something out there that you want to do. How do you navigate those failures that inevitably happen along the way, where those things we've been through those? You something just doesn't go your way and you're like, man, maybe this isn't for me. Sometimes it'll cause you to try to rethink the goal. Man, maybe this was silly. Like, how do you deal, kind of on that, you're climbing that mountain. How do you deal with some of those setbacks? You climb one step forward, 2 steps back. Like, what do what's something you can tell Atu and everybody tuned in dealing with those failures along the way to that ultimate goal?
Oh, that's a good question, Atu. And what's up, my brother? Good to hear from you. First, for me, man, I adjust my perception of what a failure is. A failure, if you're on the journey to what your blueprint, to what your dream is, what has been sent to you by the Most High, is not a failure if you get the lesson from what happened. Because if it failed, there's a lesson there. There's something there that was not quite lined up. You might have took a false step. If we're keeping in the athletics realms. It's not necessarily a bad play. It's got a negative on the play because you took a false step. So you're able to go back and take the false step out. Your eyes were wrong. You looked at the wrong read. It's simple stuff like that, and especially being an athlete, Atu, you have a very good way of compartmentalizing things in that way. So for us as athletes, we're able to say, okay, it didn't work that play, but we're on to the next play first. Second of all, what happened in that play that caused it not to be a complete positive play? And you go to the next play and you work on taking that false step out or that false read out. And you know the next play you're gonna be better. So for me, failure for me or anything that didn't work out, I turned it into a plus as a lesson. If I didn't book a role or I didn't get chosen, I've always been like, well, they just didn't want that movie to be great. You know what I'm saying? And I move on and I keep moving towards, the ultimate goal. So if you have a goal and you have something you're moving towards, and yes, there will be setbacks, there will be things that happen, but I love when Jay-Z says, I never lose. I either learn or I win. So it's a win-win. So either way it go, you're on your right path, bro, because the lesson that you get from that loss was necessary because it's going to come back eventually. If you don't get it then, you're going to get it somewhere else.
Yep, I love it. Man, Kay, this has been amazing, man. I want to wrap up here. Last question. I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit, but you got so much kind of insight, wisdom into success, high performance. You're on the Be a Pro series. So my last question to you, what does it mean to you to be a pro?
That's a good one. What does it mean to me to be a pro?
What does it mean to you to be a pro? If I said, come on, Kay, be a pro, what does that mean to you?
Very simple. I'm going to be exactly what I say I am.
I love it. Congruence. That is one of the staples. I talk about it in the seminar. You're going to read about it in the book. Congruent. Are your actions and your behaviors in line with who you say you are? If you tell me you're a killer, if you tell me you're a dog, you tell me you're a performer under pressure, you're a hard worker, you're committed, you're dedicated, am I going to see that bearing out in your actions? Is that the fruit that you're going to bear?
That's it. That's as succinct as I can make it. I am going to be exactly what I say I am. And I'm a bad man.
I love it, man. Kay, I love you, bro. I appreciate your time today. Like this was amazing. I'm energized, man. I'm about to go crush a workout right now. I'm feeling so energized. I appreciate the time. I hope everybody out there that was tuned in, I hope you were able to absorb those nuggets. And listen, there was a lot of information. If you got one thing, just one thing that you can take from this conversation that you can implement immediately to move the needle, to help you get one step further towards your goals, that was a win for you. You don't have to get 50 things, right? If you get one idea that you execute on that moves the needle, it was worth your time. So I appreciate you, Kay. I appreciate everybody that tuned in. We'll be going live again next week. Subscribe to the YouTube, Jimmy Farris on YouTube. Subscribe to my Facebook page, Official Jimmy Farris, so you'll get these notifications. Go to jimmyfarris.com and join my inner circle. Just drop your name and your email right there at the bottom of my website so that we can get you into our email system. You can be on the list. You'll get an email drip from us and keep you updated on everything that we're doing over here at Be a Pro. And guys, we're just going to keep this cranking, man. Keep giving you value, keep giving you knowledge, keep giving you nuggets that can help you move the ball down the field, to use an old football analogy, but just help you guys continue to be your absolute best. That's what we're all about here, creating the best version of yourself. And as always, guys, I will challenge you and encourage you to go out today and be a pro. Thanks so much for tuning in. See you next week.